Hey everyone, welcome to the video. This one we're going to break down the Thursday Night Football Showdown Slate, the Steelers versus the Browns. And if you guys are new to the channel and don't already know, I am a huge Browns fan. But I'm going to try to put my bias aside here when I'm breaking this down. But I'm very much excited for this game, so I am looking forward to breaking this down. And anyway, before we continue, if you could leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Really helps me out. Really appreciate it. And also follow me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16. And the spreadsheet's about every single week for the NFL season. Links in the description below for my Patreon. And I think that's about it. So I say we get right into the slate. We're going to go player by player. And then we'll attempt to build a lineup at the end. I have not tried to build one yet, so we will just see how it goes. But James Conner, he's the most expensive guy on the slate, $10,800. Honestly think it could be Nick Chubb here, but I still like James Conner. I don't think this game's going to be very high scoring, and we have an interdivisional matchup here versus two teams who really don't like each other too much. It is a rivalry, and the Vegas total in the game is only 40, which is the third lowest of the week, and Pittsburgh does come in at 2.5-point dog, so it's nothing substantial or anything, so it's not like I'm too worried about any game scripts whatsoever. It should be a pretty back and forth game. Not like it's going to be high scoring, but, back and forth, slower paced, close scoring game. And I could easily see this coming down to a field goal at the end, so not too scared about the score getting out of hand for either team. Now, James Conner, I think, is a pretty good play here versus Cleveland. They have struggled defensively versus running backs. They're 22nd DVOA versus the run, and they're allowing about 24 points per game to them, which is more middle of the pack. But on PFF, they have the second worst rushing defense grade, only behind the Chiefs. We all know how bad the Chiefs' rushing defense is. And with both Samuels and Conner relatively healthy, I would say it's a cap to his ceiling. But he will see the majority of the work here, but it wouldn't surprise me if he does cede quite a few receptions to Jalen Samuels, who we all know is a very capable and pretty good pass catcher. So I won't say he's my favorite play on the slate, but he's definitely viable, and I think he's someone you're probably going to want to get into, at the very least, your flex spot. But the guy looking to really get into my captain spot for tomorrow, at the very least, the flex spot, Nick Chubb at 10,600. So I think he's a pretty darn good play here, and he's been absolutely elite this season. He comes in at 10,600. I do prefer him over Conner and really just everybody on this slate. Now, there's not really one knock against this guy. He doesn't do anything bad. He's uber talented. In all honesty, he may just be the best pure runner in the NFL. And I swear that's just not me being a homer. I know he's not the pass catcher that CMC, Barkley, or Kamara, or whoever is, but the guy can run the ball so well. He has excellent vision, power, speed, agility. He hits the hole hard. He can make big plays happen. He's not just some grinded out kind of running back. He can hit the big play. We've seen it this season. He did it last year as well. He has PFF's second best rushing grade, only behind Josh Jacobs. He's third in rushing yards, and I believe Dalvin Cook, he's not a bye week yet, so technically he's probably second. And tied for first in yards per attempt with Christian McCaffrey at 5.3 yards per carry. Is tied for first with Dalvin Cook and runs of over 10 yards this season with 25, so there's the explosiveness that I talked about. He's third in broken tackles behind Josh Jacobs and Chris Carson, so there's your elusiveness. And he's top 5 in yards after contact per attempt. So yeah, Chubb he's good. He's very, very good. Now I know Kareem Hunt is back, and you might be saying, well, hold the phone on Nick Chubb, but I get it. But they were both used very well together last week, and I thought and Hunt seemed he seemed very unselfish with his role he had last week. There's multiple times when they were running 2-back sets where Chubb's the lead back and Kareem Hunt was the lead blocker, and he did a very good job doing so. Chubb at 81% of the snaps, which guess what? That was actually his highest snap count since week 6, even with Hunt back, and Hunt saw 54% of the snaps, and he still had 20 rushing attempts and 4 targets. So I am not worried about Nick Chubb losing work here. The 2-back system, I figured it would work out, and it did, and he showed last week, and it should against Pittsburgh. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a tough matchup versus Pittsburgh. They're 11th DVOA versus the run, and a top 10 rushing defense in terms of points given up. But this is a showdown slate, so I can't just avoid this. Although on a main slate, I probably would not look to just lock in Nick Chubb here, but on a showdown slate, he's the best player on the slate, so I think we're going to have to fire him up, and I do like him in the captain spot, very much so. I mean, he's just been great this year, and he's been very consistent. He really doesn't give you a bad game. 17, 13, 15, 32, 10, 42, 17, 19, 11. I think he can get you into the end zone here. He sees a ton of volume. We've seen 20 rushing attempts in each game since week 6, and he's basically a lock for 20 touches. So Nick Chubb, he is probably my favorite play on the slate, and I would really look to get him in. I'd say he's my top captain spot just because of volume and talent. But at the very least, you can get him in the flex spot. Obviously, you can go multiple ways in your captain spot, but I do think Nick Chubb's a very safe option there. Now, Odell at 9,200, he's definitely more of a GPP option in the captain spot, but I think he's also a pretty good flex option as well. And really the nicest thing I can say here for Odell is that he's had double-digit points in the past 4 weeks, which is honestly a big accomplishment this season for him. The struggles just have continued. He's not been great. I'm not saying it's all on him, but because Baker's played not that great, but I mean, 6, 4, 11, 31 was a great game versus New York. Then 14 versus Tennessee wasn't awful either. But, I mean, you haven't been very happy with Odell. It's not like he's been complete trash, but he's been disappointing. We all know Odell's ceiling, and he has not flashed it besides one game where he had caught a 90 or 80, like a 90-yard slant. Took it to the house, but that's what he can do. He can do it in one play. We all know that. And they made it a point to get him the ball last week. He had 12 targets, and they even took a deep shot to him on the first play of the game, where Baker overthrew it. But, Odell had his guy beat. So, I mean, if Baker gave him a good ball, we could have started the game off with like a 75-yard touchdown. And I did like seeing him have his most targets of the season last week, and it was a tough matchup versus Buffalo, who has one of the best defenses in the league right now, especially Tre'Davious White in that secondary. This isn't a very good matchup either. I mean, Baker's been struggling, but he's still in play. Kareem does add an extra dimension to his offense, though, so maybe more things will open up for him. Just another thing for the Steelers to have to worry about. He leads the team in target share, air yards, you name it, whatever. And we all know the talent. He just needs to clean up some drops. He has had some bad drops this season. Not totally on him, some are on Baker, but he has had a couple, pretty air drops just on him. But once they get on the same page, hopefully the chemistry just keeps building. And, like I was saying, it's a tough matchup. Pittsburgh's fourth DVOA versus the pass, and only giving up 33 points per game to wide receivers. But it only takes one play with Odell, and that's the scary thing about a showdown slate, because we all know he's going to have some ownership because it's Odell. He's got a great name, and a lot of casual people want to plug in Odell. And I'm not saying he's a bad player or anything, because he can break a slate. I mean, it only takes a couple plays with this guy. So he's in play, just not a top priority for me, because I want to fit in the running backs, Connor and Nick Chubb. And if you can somehow fit Odell in, I think that's fine. But you're going to have to fade one of the high-end guys, so maybe like a quarterback or whatever. So don't mind Odell. And then Baker Mayfield at 9K. So really just another guy who's been disappointing, and he's regressed this season. And a fun stat for you, it sounds crazy, but last week versus Buffalo, that was his first multi-touchdown game of the season. His first. I mean, he had 1 versus Denver, 1 versus New England, 1 versus Seattle, 0 versus San Francisco, 1 Baltimore, 1 Rams, 1 Jets, and 1 Tennessee. And, well, actually take that back. Seattle, he had 1 passing touchdown and 1 rushing touchdown, but it's his first multi-passing touchdown game, and it's his second multi-touchdown game. So that's not what we were expecting out of Baker this season. He's definitely regressed, and it's just insane considering you got guys like Landry and Odell to throw to, which is one of the best receiving tandems in the league, just in talent alone. Not numbers this season, but just on talent. And Vegas doesn't expect this game to be high scoring. I really don't either, so you could probably get away with fading him, but I'm probably going to throw him into the flex spot despite the tough matchup. And I know you guys saw the Steelers absolutely eat up Goff last week, but on average they give up about 16 points per game, and it's not like Baker's overly expensive. I mean, if he was like in the 10K range, yeah, I'd understand wanting to probably stay away from him there, but 9K, he definitely is interesting on a showdown slate. We've seen some upside from him, at least versus Seattle, where he had 22 points, and he's had double-digit points pretty much every single week besides a couple, so it's not like he's... I shouldn't say he's not been absolutely awful, because he's had some definitely awful games, but I mean, he's got the talent to throw. I mean, I'm not saying he's got all the talent right now, because he doesn't, but he's got a lot of weapons with a lot of talent. Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, Odell, Jarvis Landry, so he should be okay. I mean, I don't think he's going to absolutely suck in this game. He's playing at home. Hopefully he can feed off the energy there, so I know Cleveland's going to be rocking. Always gets up for a nice Pittsburgh Steelers matchup, so Baker, I think he's fine in the flex spot. Actually not Juju. Jalen Samuels at 8,800. Probably going to pass here. I can only assume this price was baked in case Connor was out, but that is not the case. Connor is in, so I think we can safely avoid Samuels at 8,800. Yeah, he'll catch some passes and get some carries, but it's just too much risk for me as a backup running back at this price. We got to get him into the end zone, and I can't bank on that at 8,800. If he was around Kareem Hunt's price, yeah, I'd have maybe a tad of interest, but I can't do it at this price tag when he's the backup running back. I mean, 8,800, that's insane. So we'll be passing on Jalen Samuels. I think he's a terrible play just from a point per dollar point of view. I'll watch him score 3 touchdowns now. But, I mean, just if you're looking at averages, you should not play Jalen Samuels at 8,800. Just in the law of probability. JuJu at 8,600. So much like Odell, he struggled this year, and I really won't put it all on him. He's had to play with Mason Rudolph and Devin Hodges this season, which I really wouldn't wish on anybody. But outside of a decent start to the season, I mean, he had a decent start. I mean, 13, 13, 17, then 4, 19, 1, 24, 7, 4-7. I mean, it's been bad for JuJu. You've not been excited about owning him, especially in season-long leagues. He did have a good game versus Miami, but I think pretty much everyone has a good game versus Miami. So there's really not a lot of upside here, and you should see quite a bit of Denzel Ward in this game. He had a great game last week. Only gave up 3 catches on 10 targets and 9 yards after the catch. So he was really good last week in that 39 passer rating. Obviously, that was versus Josh Allen. It's not like they have the best weapons in the world, but hey, it was still a pretty good outing. It was encouraging to see. In week 1, when he shadowed Corey Davis, which was the only week he shadowed so far this season, he was out most of the season with an injury so far, but he did shadow week 1 versus Corey Davis, and he gave up not one fantasy point, not one stat. He did not catch a ball. He just got 3 targets, 0 catches, and that was it. So I'm not saying Juju's going to get blanked here, but he's more of a tournament play for me. It's a tougher matchup versus Denzel. And, overall, Cleveland's 19th DVOA versus the pass, so they haven't been great. So if he can avoid him on some plays, yeah, I mean, he might do some damage there. But 8,600, he just really hasn't shown me enough to want to play him at this price tag, especially if you're going to see quite a bit of Denzel Ward. So I probably am going to pass on JuJu, but he's in play for tournaments, but I don't think he's going to make my main lineup. Mason Rudolph at 8,400. Relatively cheap quarterback on a showdown slate, so I always say they're in play. He's just not an exciting quarterback play, kind of like Baker, and he really hasn't had a wow you kind of game this season. Just kind of like Baker, he's had multiple games in the teens, and he also had a single-digit game thrown in there as well. But he's a cheap quarterback on a showdown slate, so always you got flex consideration. So Mason Rudolph, I don't absolutely hate it. Jarvis Landry at 8,000, I actually like him quite a bit. I think he's a very strong play in this slate, and he's been great the past 2 to 3 weeks. He's had double-digit targets 3 weeks in a row, and he's been the main producer here over Odell. I mean, 24 points last week, 17 versus Denver. And these are 2 tough matchups, too. Denver's one of the better pass defenses in the league, and Buffalo is as well. He had 10 targets, 9 catches, 97 yards, touchdown. Versus Denver, 13 targets, 6 catches, 1 touchdown. Pretty darn good. Versus New England, he got double-digit points versus New England, which pretty tough to do so far this season. So I do like Jarvis Landry here, and he had a great game versus Baltimore, where he had 10 targets, 8 catches, 167 yards, 22 fantasy points. So he's been solid this year. I mean, 7 targets, 7, 9, 10, 6, 5, 10, 13, 10. I think he's a relatively safe play. He's probably a safer play than Odell because he's going to see less attention from the defense. And actually, I know the Pittsburgh pass defense is good, but they do struggle quite a bit versus slot receivers, and that's what Jarvis Landry's primary role is as a slot receiver. They're giving up 27 points per game to them, which is most in the entire league. And yes, I know Kupp got 0 points last week as a slot receiver, but Goff was Goffle. So I don't expect Baker to be that bad again. Bad as Jared Goff was last week. That was just all-time bad. But he's cheaper than Odell. Honestly, a pretty safe option. And he and Baker seem to have a good connection right now. So I think Jarvis Landry, I mean, I wouldn't say he's a safe bet for double-digit targets, but I think he can get you over 8 targets. So Jarvis Landry, he makes some sense to me, especially if the defense is really worried about Odell. Should leave some open space for Jarvis Landry. And I do like him quite a bit. Diontae Johnson. So we're starting to get to the gross range because I hate these Steelers receivers. I mean, you never know which one to play, and they're just not that great, and they don't have a great quarterback throwing to them, though. But he should see softer coverage between him and JuJu, as he's going to be on Greedy Williams, the rookie, more likely than not. He hasn't been bad by any means, but he's definitely the worst between the two, which isn't a knock on Greedy. It's just, Denzel Ward's obviously a much better player right now. Diontae's been fine. Nothing I'm too excited with, but he's been hit or miss. So, again, he's just a tournament option for me. I mean, 10, 1, 19, 3, 7, 18, 14, 2, 5. I mean, if he catches a touchdown, yeah, you'll be happy, but I just don't. There's not a lot for me to like here, especially at 6,400. I can't play any of these 3 quarterbacks. Kareem Hunt, I like Kareem Hunt, 5,800. I think he's a pretty strong play here. Kind of already hit on him earlier, but he did look good in his debut, playing over 50% of the snaps, and that was his first game in a long, long time, and he looked good. So, and it was encouraging to see. He didn't look out of shape at all. Had 4 carries, 30 yards, but the big thing here was he had 9 targets. 9 targets. That's pretty good. He caught 7 of them. That's a 23% target share last week, and that's great for a running back, especially being technically the backup running back to Nick Chubb. So now I do think the 9 targets, do I think they're sustainable? No, I don't think they're sustainable, but he's going to be involved. He should get double-digit touches, through the air and through the ground. Not both, but, just combined. And Nick Chubb, he's the guy here, but he's going to wear the defense out, and Hunt should be very efficient with his limited touches. He's going to go up against a tired defense after Nick Chubb's been bruising them up all game, so Kareem Hunt's going to come in, more of a change of pace guy, and he's obviously elite running back. We've seen Kareem Hunt's talent. He's a top 5 running back when given plenty of opportunities, so when you got the tandem of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, it's going to be hard to stop, and I think the Steelers' defense is going to have a hard time stopping them. So they should both have some pretty good games. Kareem Hunt's got a decently safe floor. It's at 5,800 too, because he's going to be heavily involved in the passing game, and they're going to drop special plays for him. So Kareem Hunt, I like him quite a bit, 5,800. I think he's a pretty strong play. James Washington, 5,600. Just another Steelers receiver. I mean, he's had pretty good back-to-back solid weeks here, and he's cheap, so he might be a decent lineup filler after you get the guys you want in. But that's not really saying much. So basically by that, I mean, you fill out your rest of your lineup. You got 6,000 left. You got 5,800 left, and you're like, hey, James Washington fits. Maybe he fits some correlation in your lineup. You can throw him in, but I'm not in love with him. But he's been getting consistent targets. It's just a matter of production here. So I don't think he's the worst play in the world. I'd just really call him a lineup filler at the most. Vance McDonald, though, at 5,400. He's pretty much touchdown or bust. He sees targets, 7, 7, 4, 1. But then, 3, 2, 7, 4. But if he's not going to get it done in the yardage department. I mean, his yards this season are 11, 30, 19, 5, 34, 10, 38, 40. That's not going to really do it at 5,400. If he gets into the end zone like he did versus Indianapolis, 7 targets, 5 catches, 30 yards, 1 touchdown, 14 fantasy points, yeah, you'll probably be pretty happy with 14 fantasy points. But if he doesn't score a touchdown, you're probably looking at like 2 to 6 points out of him, and that 5,400, I don't love it. So I think there's more upside with someone like James Washington who can hit some big plays. So Vance McDonald, not one of my favorite plays. Both defenses, they are in play, 5,200 and 4,600. Vegas has this as a lower scoring game, which I would agree. It's a divisional game, so these tend to lead to some more solid defensive outings for fantasy purposes. Now Pittsburgh, they've been the better defense, especially for fantasy purposes this season. And they're going up against Baker. He has the tendency to turn the ball over, so there is some upside there. And, maybe you get a pick six, and they've been absolutely awesome the past few games. 25, 19, 13, 14, 11, 19, 11, 7, 0 versus New England. We'll give them a pass there. But other than that, their worst game is 7 fantasy points, and they have been great. So the Steelers defense, yeah, they're definitely in play. I'm obviously going to be higher on the Browns side of the ball for the showdown, so it's not the best correlation play to play the Steelers. But I think a double defense lineup, I think that's definitely in play. And the Steelers defense has just been so good. But we'll see. I'm gonna have a lot of Browns in my lineup, so it's not the best thing in the world that want to play the Steelers defense with them. But I do think they're a pretty strong play, and they've just been very good. And then the Browns defense, they're the home team. They're playing at home. They're the favorites. It's a low Vegas total. So I think they're fine at 4,600. Mason Rudolph doesn't really scare me too much. But for fantasy purposes, they have not been great. They were fine versus the Jets 13, fine versus Baltimore. But other than that, they have not shown some strong fantasy outings. But they are the cheaper defense and at home. Hopefully they're juiced up for this game. They're fighting for playoff spot. I know that they're 3-6. Or was it 3-6? Yeah, 3-6. So they're fighting. They're going to have to pretty much win out here. But, you got to win the game. And, they're going to have to step up. Olivier Vernon is out. That does hurt them a little bit. But if Myles Garrett can get the pressure on the quarterback, maybe they can cause a fumble and pick it up from scoop and score. But, both defenses are in play, though. I don't think this game's going to be a shootout or anything. So I don't mind them. Rashard Higgins at 4,400. So he's in a weird situation. I don't know. Freddie Kitchens just doesn't like the guy, I guess. They don't want to get him on the field. They did last week because Antonio Callaway was reported late for the game or something. I don't know. It was something weird, but he was late either way, so he was in the doghouse, healthy and active last week. And I was excited because I personally think Higgins is the better receiver between the two, and in my opinion, he's got great chemistry with Baker here. And he did catch the game-winning touchdown last week, but that's literally all he did. He had 1 target, 1 catch, 7 yards for a touchdown. He made his 1 target worth it for the team, but other than that, he didn't do anything. But also the Callaway benching was just a one-time thing, so it sounds like he's going to be back. So it kind of muddies the waters here for the wide receiver 3 spot. It's not like it's going to be the most valuable position anyway, because you got Odell, Landry, Hunt, Chubb, just getting all the offense. So Rashard Higgins, I don't know how they're going to even use him, so probably going to have to pass there. I don't trust it, especially at 4,400. And it doesn't seem like Freddie Kitchens wants to use him anyway. We know that guy's an idiot. He doesn't know how to call plays. He looks pretty rough out there. So if you guys are watching the game you're asking yourself, what the heck is Freddie Kitchens doing at coaching? Yeah, that's what I've been seeing the past 10 weeks. It's gross out there. So just prepare yourselves. Demetrius Harris, he's pretty much like Vance McDonald. He's touchdown or bust here. 4 points, 5 points, 11 points when he caught the touchdown, and 2, 1, 0, 7. I mean, when he catches a touchdown, it'll get you about 7 to 10 points. But other than that, he's not going to do anything in the yardage department. Now, he will get a boost, though, if Seals Jones is out, because he's a red zone threat. But, nothing I'm going out of my way to fit. I'm not going out of my way to fit Demetrius Harris in my lineups for sure. Both kickers, I think they're both really strong plays. They're decently cheap. And, low-scoring game should lead to some field goals here. Both teams struggle to get into the end zone, especially for the Browns. I mean, the Browns have been struggling to get into the end zone all year, especially in the red zone. So I think Austin Seibert's a pretty strong play. He's been very good this year. He's not missed a field goal. He did miss an extra point last week, but, the guy's been great. He has not missed a field goal, like I said. 13, 8, 2, 3, 11, 7, 13, 1. I shouldn't say he's been great for fantasy purposes, but he's been a good real-life kicker. I can see the Browns probably struggling to score some touchdowns in this game because Pittsburgh's defense has been good. Now, they got talent, so they should be able to move the ball. It's just they're not that great in the red zone, so I could see their drives stalling out. I could see like a 3 field goal game out of Austin Seibert, and at 3,800, yeah, I think that would make him a pretty strong play. And then after that, it gets kind of gross. Ricky Seals-Jones is questionable, but I probably wouldn't have any interest in him. Edmonds, thank you, with Connor being back. Callaway, I just don't like the guy. I don't think he's that great. When he plays, he gets targets 5, 3, 4, 3, but it doesn't do much with him. 9 points, 3 points, 4 points. He's kind of in the doghouse, especially. He's got off the field issues. So 2,800. If he catches a deep ball, he's got speed. So if he can catch a deep ball and just take it to the house, yeah, he'll break the slate at 2,800. But I don't think he's someone you got to definitely get in your lineup. He might be a decent pump play, but we'll see how he's used. Higgins did catch the game-winning touchdown last week. So that might at least open Freddie Kitchens' eyes to play him a little bit more. But we'll see. It's not like the wide receiver 3 spot for the Browns is, really enticing for me to want to get in my lineup. The rest of these guys are pretty much just dust. Vanette, you need a touchdown, and he's not going to do anything in the yards department. You might get like a red zone touchdown or something, but other than that, he's not going to do anything at all. I think that's pretty much going to be it for the video. I guess we will try to make a lineup here. So for the flex spot, I am liking Nick Chubb, so we're gonna try to plug him in, the captain spot. So he's 15,900 in the captain. That leaves us 6,800 left. So it didn't absolutely break the bank. It's not like he was 20,000. So I probably want to fit in James Conner. I think both running backs can have some pretty solid game here. Probably want to fit in Baker, and at this point I got 4,700 left. So I'm probably going to have to go to a kicker, and like I said, I don't mind Cyber here. I think Chris Boswell is fine as well. That leaves us 5,250 left. Maybe I can fit in Jarvis Landry. Maybe. We'll see. That leaves us 2,500 left, so maybe not. Let's see. Maybe we can go with Kareem Hunt. I do like Kareem Hunt. I think he's a pretty solid play. Browns defense at 4,600. It's not the worst play in the world. Maybe Rashard Higgins, depending on whatever. But, it's not the worst in the world. I'm not sure how much I'm in love with the Browns defense, but they are playing at home. Should be a low-scoring game. I only have one Steelers in my lineup, so I guess it would be decent correlation. So, I don't mind that, but don't go plug that in any of your lineups. I just made that up on the fly, so it wasn't a lot of thought put into that. But it's nice to know I can fit in Nick Chubb in the captain spot pretty comfortably and get most of the guys I want. I got James Conner, Baker Mayfield, Jarvis. I think I got Jarvis. I don't think I did. But I still got Kareem Hunt in my lineup, so I did like that. And you can just play around with it, whatever. But I think Nick Chubb, James Conner, and Baker Mayfield or Jarvis Landry or whatever is a pretty good solid start to the lineup. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. I am looking forward to this game. Hopefully the Browns can get the win for me, so I'm happier throughout the week. If not, I'll be a little depressed for my core plays video, but we'll live through it. And I wish you guys the best of luck. If this video was helpful, remember to leave a like. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Really helps me out. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next video.